get down to business to defeat the Huns.
Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons?
This is all I got.
I can't believe, just like depending how much I believe in for our listeners, I should just leave it all. But the reason we are singing this glorious song is today we realized that we both sing it, not just sing it regularly, like stuck in our heads all the time, but we also both cry about it.
When you messaged me saying, oh, I also cry, it gets me emotional, I howled because I was like, me too.
What is it about it? It hits me deep in my core.
I don't know what it is, but it gets me. Yeah. We just, we're just, yeah, I don't know, but it hits. The whole soundtrack for Mulan is quite perfect.
I agree. We used to have it as kids, and my sister would play it on the piano, and we'd all sing the whole thing. So it's probably why I still remember most of the lyrics. But Mulan, it's just still the greatest. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's still the greatest Disney movie of all time, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dang up there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Of the Publishing Persuasion. I hope you really enjoyed that serenade from Melanie Schubert and I. We're taking it on the road. We're gonna record pretty soon. No, that was just for our beautiful, precious listeners. You guys are welcome. How are you, Melanie?
I'm alive. It's been a long week. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm good. I had the Chili Peppers and Post Malone concert this week. That was glorious.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
I have to say, I am such a Post Malone fangirl after that concert. That motherfucker pours his soul out onto the stage when he performs, and I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed.
As you should be. You should be. He is so talented, and I've seen him on just online his shows. Yeah. And I remember, I think it wasn't too long ago, but he fell really, really hard in one of his shows, and I mean it was scary because I guess the trap door that brings people up and down, it went down, and he didn't know, and he tripped into it and crushed his it looked so painful, but his first response was I'm so sorry, but dude, go check your ribs, but I'm glad he's healthy, and obviously he's hanging out in Australia, so
that's such a true performer who loves their people. He's obviously was concerned that these people have paid for these tickets, he probably can't go on with the show because he's broken a rib, and his first thought is, oh my gosh, my fans are going to suffer. That's so sweet. Can only hope to be as pure as Post Malone. That's my new goal in life.
I love that for you. I see you as a very Post Malone-esque. Yes.
Well, I definitely want more tattoos, so that part will happen.
Yes. Do you just have the one arm, or is it two?
Just the one.
Okay. Are we getting more pretty soon?
I hope so. I have to finish this one first. That shit is expensive.
Yeah.
I would have a lot more. I would have a lot more by now if I had unlimited funds. I'd probably have a back piece and a thigh piece by now.
Oh, sexy. Does Phil have tattoos?
He was a tattoo virgin until we got these matching tats over lockdown.
Oh, yes.
Not because he doesn't like them. He loves them. I think he just he didn't have something that had really inspired him to go get it. You know how some people, there's two kinds of people. One kind of person, they research the shit out of their every line, every artist. They want what's going on their body to be so meaningful. And then there's the other kind of person who there's you can put a stick figure on my body if you like. And I think he thought he was the first kind, but I think he's the latter. I think he just wouldn't mind whatever people want. Like, he just loves tattoos. And if they've got meaning, all the better. But like, I think he'll wind up with like some cute random ones. Like, one idea he had was of Goose sitting in like a grand seat with like a top hat smoking a pipe.
Yes, I love that. That's an investment right there. But it's
I
a
agree.
worthy investment. That is a worthy investment.
Yeah. And I'll probably make him get my name on his ass or something at some point, you know. That's got to happen.
Melanie,
What?
I have my partner's name on my ass.
Yes, you do. I fucking love that.
I love that. That is glorious. Oh, it's such a, I mean, not to be crass, but it's kind of where your partner wants to see it.
Exactly. Okay, so let me give you the backstory. So my mom and stepdad, when they got married, it was a bit of a scandal. But
Ooh.
anyway, when one day we were all on like out on the lake, and my stepdad's like shorts were see-through. And so my brother was like, "What's on your ass?" And it was like this blob. And so he mooned us, like BA'd us.
Yeah.
And it was a heart with the name Deb. My mom's name's Debbie. So it was a heart with Deb. And so she had a heart with Ross. And so it's always like a family joke of like how tacky these ass tattoos are. And now that they're older, they're a little more lower. They're a little more wrinkled, and so now it says like you can't even read his anymore, but hers says Rod instead of Ross, which is his name. So yeah.
I love that so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so I stuck with the tradition, and I got a little on the tush.
I live for that. I don't think you got why I was laughing so hard, because you were telling me about a tattoo on your ass, and then you were like, let me give you the backstory. Like, backside, backstory. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, I meant to do that. I meant to be really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It was your comedy bit.
Yeah. But how is everything writing wise?
Yeah.
How are you going through revisions right now? What's the word on the street, Melanie?
Good. Going good. I finally, all your little comments about, so listeners, I had this kind of random plot thread through my book. I thought it'd be fun if I put in the character won the lotto. And I was kind of contrasting it against, like, she's won this big, huge thing, and still she's like, which is kind of the way when you're really excited and invested about something, no matter what happens, you're kind of focused on that. So that was kind of where I was going with it. But your comments were killing me as I go through, and it's like, I'm still wondering if this is like somehow tied into anything. Of course, you and I have already talked about it, but that's why the comments are making me laugh so hard. So I've changed that. And honestly, I've only got a couple chapters left. You girls have no idea how much you have bolstered me this week with your feedback on my query, because I think, like, you really do get to a point where no matter how hard you've busted your ass over it, you're just like, is it any good, And I think it's just because we do write alone for a lot of it. And yeah, just getting you and Core and Para, and then Kyla piped up and she was like, I'll have a look too. And I was like, please. She did find, like, she's like, I was really pulling to look at something, but she was like, you could maybe change this, or not change, just add something extra. But just like, I just felt excited again to query. Like, honestly, like, it does get hard, especially over lockdown years. It's like dead in the trenches, like, you're waiting a long time to hear back anything, and it's daunting going in with a new book. But honestly, at this point, I feel ready to put it in. Like, I really like, we're talking with our guest Edward about like pausing and taking the time and doing what's right for that book. And honestly, I wanted to get this in the trenches like 8 months ago when I like did the first 2 revisions. But I'm so glad that I slowed down and I rewrote the start. I sent it off to Manuscript Academy a couple times for the intro and stuff, and sent it to you girls. And now I feel like the excitement I feel is muting the fear almost completely, which is how I've always been about my writing. Like at a point, I stopped feeling afraid, and I remember why I started in the first place, because it sets me alight, and not just the writing side of it, like Edward said, like wanting to make it a career and feeling like you might have a place in that world, you know. So
Yes.
I'm kind of like, yeah, I am forcing myself to slow down and not send a query this week. I think we'll see if I can hold myself to that, because it's very tempting. And I do have a couple chapters left to edit, but it's the kind of thing where, like, if I got a request, I could fix it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'll wait till Monday maybe.
Nice.
And
I am here for it. I am loving the growth. Like what Edward was saying in the interview that you guys will hear after we're done blabbering on. But like the way holding yourself back, and it's not holding yourself back, but like listening to your intuition that's telling you not just yet. And listening to that is so important. It's so freaking hard to do.
so hard.
But it pays off. And I could tell in your query letter that you sent to us, like query letters are so hard, but you nailed it. And the growth there, because you know, reading the other query letters. No, but seriously, the growth there, because it wasn't just like, okay, I'm just going to shoot this off. I'm going to get it right this time. I'm going to take my time and really focus. And you nailed it. Like you hit the heart of your story so well. I was like, I shouldn't have been shocked because you've been doing it, but it was like almost like, damn. Like I was so proud and happy for you, because it's so hard to write a good query, and you did it. And it sounded like it was effortlessly, like reading it just felt right. And so,
well, I've
good job, Melanie.
I've had a lot of help, and I've had a lot of good, wise friends like you. And yeah, Manuscript Academy, obviously, as well. I sent it a couple times through there because, yeah, I wanted to know that the voices I trust tell me I've done everything I can with this one. So I'm not sat there going, what if they rejected me because of this? What if it was this? I'm like, nah, my mind is calm. I think I've done everything I can to give it the best shot. End of. If it's not this one, I'll work on something else, you know? So, but yeah, that what you said, that, and Edward said, the waiting, you reminded me of one of my favorite quotes. It's one I haven't shared yet. You know how I love my quotes. And honestly, I repeat it to myself at least once a week. It is, wait until your mud settles and your water is clear.
Oh,
it's so tempting to rush. But sometimes when it's not even clear, like maybe what you want to work on, or like the process of things, or if it's ready or whatever, I'm always trying to like slow myself down a little bit and just be like, wait until the mud settles and you have more clarity on things. And yeah, I do feel kind of in that place now. And even just something like having had these agents a lot of agents I want to query, we have had as guests on the podcast. And it's just like that kind of, it's not this unfamiliar foreign landscape anymore. I feel like I kind of have a little bit of a better idea of what I'm getting into.
That's great. And I hope that for our listeners too, like that reminder that literary agents, the people behind the veil, like they're all just humans trying their best. And, you know, it's personal to us, but it's not so personal as we think, if that makes sense. You know, it's like a matter of taste or time or whatever it is. And so, yeah, I hope you go into these query trenches, like just pumped and excited and ready. I say just shoot off every agent in the world, just send it on over.
I think this time I'm gonna query because I feel like I've done everything with this one. I think I'll query it a lot more widely than I have in the past, because I'm just like, this one's ready. This one feels ready for something, whatever that is. Hopefully it's my right agent. So we'll see. But speaking of very exciting things, how are you, my friend?
Feeling good. Feeling
Yeah.
good.
Are you?
Yes, I am. Lots happening, but a lot of stuff that like I can't even really say at this moment.
I wasn't sure how much I can cut stuff out.
No, I mean I think it's fine because, but it's so weird because yeah, I don't know. It's weird because there are things that are live on the internet right now as we speak.
Correct.
There is a thing on the internet.
Oh, what?
It's up already.
Hang on, I just registered. Did you see? I thought you meant the links, which we shared last episode. You
It's
did not mean the links, my friend, do you?
No, there is a cover shaped thing up already. And so how it works, Melanie, and I have no idea. So your publishing house will send your, cover, the information to all these different retailers.
Yeah.
And so it starts popping up on their site before you even get to do the cover reveal, because they have to make sure the links are live, so for the pre-orders. And so last night I was just being nosy, and I was like looking at my thing just to check.
Yes.
And on Barnes and Noble, she's there. And so I had this moment where I was like, is this for real? And then my son came over and he hugged me and he was like, I'm so proud of you. You did good, Mom. And I was like, oh my God. And it was so sweet. And but he's sweet like that. But it was one of those moments where I was like, it's happening. It's happened. And I can't tell anybody necessarily. I mean, I could tell our listeners, because who knows?
I didn't have to cut this bit.
I think it's fine, because it's like our listeners are so great. And it's like, as long as you guys pre-order at least 20 copies, you can go see it. But I had someone DM me today and was like, hey, I think I accidentally just saw your cover. And I was like, it's up. She's like, I was on Amazon and your book's there. And I was like, oh. She's like, by the way, it's amazing. And she was really excited about it. And I was really excited. But she was like, are you getting to reveal this? And I said, not just yet. I have to wait till like it's up on like Goodreads or whatever. But she was like, okay, well, I won't say anything to anybody. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate it.
How are you meant to not like crow about it now when it's popping up everywhere?
It's popping up everywhere. Well, and because I've mentioned it on my socials, like I'm gonna be revealing the cover soon. So I think maybe people are just curious, because like there's a link actually in my bio now for pre-orders. And so naturally people just go in there and check. And even if you just like Google my name, she's up there. So
I have to Google right now.
Okay, well, hopefully.
Obviously, I already
know.
I already know what it looks like, but I just have to see it.
So it's
she on the same Penguin Random House website already. I'm gonna cry. It's so beautiful. Somehow it looks even better, like as an icon. Does that sound dumb? Do you know what I mean? Like it's an icon now rather than like a picture.
Yeah.
Look, it's like here.
She's up, and it's so weird. And so I don't know, because I can't hold this secret in. I gotta tell somebody, I gotta share this.
Yeah. Good luck keeping that in the bag till next Wednesday, my friend, because you're right. I think because like and that's what's meant to happen. Like the excitement's meant to be building as you release, but so people are looking up to pre-order.
Yeah. And so shit, I know it's happening. So
Was that so surreal that it was just there and you didn't know it was going to be?
So weird. Because like I knew like things were happening and they were like getting ready and they were feeding it out. But when I just like happened to look at the link and then I saw it up there, I was like, oh. And I got teary-eyed and then I was just like, wow, this is so wild. I mean, it's really happening. And so she's pretty.
So pretty. She is so pretty. And everyone, I don't even know how much of that I'm going to cut out and what I'm going to leave. But dear listeners, it is time. It is time. I am literally Rafiki right now. It is time. I wish I could hold it up right now and say it properly. It is time for you to show your loyalty. Podcast.
If you love me, if you've ever for 1 second laughed at anything I've ever said, if you even have taste, right? If you're a good person,
Yeah.
please. If you have a soul, if you have a soul, I beg of you. I beg of you. Pre-order Sinners.
Yeah.
Pre-order Sinners out.
I will add that you will not be disappointed. You will be immersed in the glorious storytelling skills of the one and only, the Pirate Queen, Angela Montoya. So get on your little, what is it? Little red wagons? Jump on your scooters, jump on your hot air balloons, and get thee to a webpage and pre-order Sinner's Isle, friends, because we want to give our girl the most mind-blowing pre-order and debut experience of her life.
Yeah, thank you. Well, speaking of debut,
we're ranty today. Oh fuck, look at us. Half an hour.
no.
Half an hour. Okay, let's wrap it up. I've got to edit this shit.
Yeah, I know. You've got work. I apologize.
No.
Hey, we have an amazing debut on the show today. Besides me. We've got one hell of a debut, and that is Edward Underhill. And my goodness, Melanie, were you ready for the knowledge Edward was about to drop on you?
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, and to be honest, I could sit there and listen to Edward all day. Like, Edward needs a podcast of his own because literally just everything that he said was so relatable and so like uplifting, you know? And so I just know our listeners are going to love to. It's just like one of those therapy episodes, isn't it? You know, like a Brent episode. That's like kind of this. Brent is like Brent, you can go listen to that one, listeners. Brent Taylor, lit agent. That episode will always have a special place in my heart. It just felt like some kind of just like Ride a Church, basically. So this was another Ride a Church episode, I think. Do you want to read the bio? I royally fucked it up last time.
Sure. You did. Girl, have you seen my bio reading skills? But yeah, I'll read it. Okay, let's get into it. Edward Underhill is an author and composer who grew up in Wisconsin. He began playing the cello at age 5, started writing stories not long after that, and began seriously composing in his teens. He studied music composition in college at the Oberlin Conservatory while writing ghost stories for a campus magazine, and received a master's in film music composition from NYU. He now lives in California with his partner and a talkative black cat, where he writes music frequently for cartoons and novels frequently for teens. Most recently, he wrote music for Kid Cosmic from Netflix with Andy Bean. His debut young adult novel, Always the Almost, will release from Wednesday Books at Macmillan on February 14th, 2023. As a queer trans man, he is passionate about representation both on screen and on the page. As an author, he is represented by Patricia Nelson at Marsal Lion Literary Agency. If you like cat pictures, follow him on Instagram. For his thoughts about other stuff, you can follow him on Twitter. Are you laughing at me, Melanie? Are you laughing at me?
Do you think it's going to get to the point over the years where we like literally can't read it in front of each other because we just want to laugh so hard? Why?
Absolutely. We have the sense of humor of 12-year-olds. I don't know.
We would be in detention all the time. Do you know that's the only reason I used to get detention for like talking in class?
Yeah, I believe that. I do believe that, Melanie Schubert.
I mean, it works having a podcast, but
yeah. But let's get Edward Underhill on the show, and he shall blesseth our listeners with his amazing knowledge and just heart of gold.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
Hi, Edward. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No, we are so excited. I've been seeing your book. I've been eyeing that book of yours for a while now. So I was
so kind of you. That's so kind of you.
Yeah, I mean, are you publishing next week? Is that when you come out, or the week after?
Yeah, Tuesday.
Oh
literally
my
on Valentine's Day, which is about like when my editor told me that's what they decided on. I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. There's literally a Valentine's Day party in the book. And also, like, I can't think of anything that's cuter than that. So, and I say this as someone who, like, historically hated Valentine's Day. Like, I was totally one of those, like, anti-Valentine's Day people. Like, I would, be happy with dressing in all black instead. But, it's adorable now, and I'm leaning into it.
Yes. That's so relatable. The older I got, the more I felt festive about Christmas, Valentine's, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Now it's all the hearts all over the place.
Yeah.
Just the whole nine.
Just make it really gay and I'm in,
100%. Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
A pleasure. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Edward Underhill, and I am a writer and also a composer. I grew up in Wisconsin, which is also where the book takes place. And now I live in California by way of New York City for a little while first. And my other job is writing music, mostly for film and TV. And then otherwise I write books.
That's so cool. And I know you play the cello.
I do.
I was fangirling hard when I heard. And you even played a little tune on TikTok, which I was like so thrilled about.
Yes.
Are any instruments like in your book? Does music part of sorry, my dog is creepy in the back.
He's stealing the show. Smokey, the little whore from attention.
I know.
If I hadn't shut my cat in another room, the same thing would be happening here, so it's fine.
Yeah, I apologize. But no, is there any music in your book?
Yes, there's a lot of music in the book. So the book is basically about a trans boy named Miles Jacobson, and he makes 2 New Year's resolutions, one to win back his ex-boyfriend and the other to beat his arch nemesis at a big piano competition until a new boy moves to town and makes a play for his heart. So like one of the plots of the book is revolving around a big piano competition. So Miles is a classical pianist in the book, and I play piano, not that well. But yeah, I mostly grew up as a cellist. So a lot of the competition aspects and the classical music stuff basically comes like directly from my own experience. I was doing a lot of those classical music competitions at a relatively high level and definitely came in second a lot. So, some of the book is maybe written out of spite a little bit for that. So there's a lot of music in the book, and I wasn't even sure, like when I started writing, I was like, nobody's going to want to read this. Nobody wants to read about classical music. Like, who cares about Tchaikovsky? And it's actually been really nice to see people start to find it, just like the early copies on NetGalley or as an ARC, and like actually be super into the music aspect. That was something I didn't expect, but has been really fun to see.
I love that. I got chills listening to that, or you say that, because it's really, really special to pull stuff that you're passionate about into your own story, and especially thinking no one's going to care, but they really do, and they're really interested and excited. I love that.
Yeah.
Is there a playlist, like a Spotify playlist for your book?
I've been sort of meaning to make one and make it actually a little bit more public. I listen to music a lot when I write, or at least like at certain stages of the writing process. So I definitely have a playlist. I definitely sent it to my editor obnoxiously, and then she listened to it and loved it. So that was very nice of her. But yeah, I mean, like I definitely have a playlist that like has some of the music that's actually in the book on it. And then a lot of the rest of it is just like, the pop songs I would put on the soundtrack or something, because I'm not a terribly pretentious music person. I just, love it all. So yes, I should really put it together and like actually make it available. Be like, here, do you want to listen to like the stuff that I was getting nerdily obsessed with while writing this book?
I love
The
that.
answer is yes.
Yes, you have to do it. And I just love hearing that, because it's something that I keep thinking about recently. Like, if you do something, like you said, you didn't think people would be excited about the classical music side, but you've obviously written it with so much love and passion and feeling yourself. And it always when you do that, it winds up attracting your community to you, I think. And then so it brings all the cellists out of the woodwork, and they're all like, we were waiting for this book.
Yeah, and I think there's a nice aspect to it as well, where the classical music world can be incredibly straight, like aside from sort of a proliferation of gay tenors. Like it is like really straight in some odd ways. And so there's like a sort of moment in the book, I don't think it's really a spoiler, that where Miles's new piano teacher tells him that Tchaikovsky was gay. And like, I had no idea growing up that Tchaikovsky was gay. And it's just like not something that people talk about. There's sort of a way that like this, like any queerness in classical music history just gets completely glossed over. And it's there a lot more than you realize. But so sort of getting to write a trans boy playing the piano and sort of like finding, like having that be a piece of finding himself and, sort of reinventing himself and being comfortable in his own skin. It's been nice to see other queer people who have related to music in some way. And it's just like, this is a space that we can have for ourselves too, even if it's sort of very like straight-laced historically in these certain ways.
That's beautiful and powerful, and I so special. And especially no, I mean, I'm assuming that like your character gets a happy ending at the end. So to see, these queer characters not only, like learning throughout the story and dealing with things, but to have that love, the romance, like the sweetness, the winning, and all of that, like just gushy, heartwarming, Valentine-y stuff is just the best. And I'm just living for all of these books. We need this joy, and we all have these struggles and these things that we're learning and having to deal with, but like bringing in the joy and the love, and I'm here for it. Sign me up for some extra orders. I'm ready.
Yeah, it was something that I really like set out to do with this book, that I knew I wanted to do from the beginning, was really have it. There's like plenty of angst in it. There's plenty, like I don't want to write a kind of joy that I guess comes from being completely naive and pretending that like it's not really, really hard to exist in the world as a trans person sometimes, because it is. That stuff is really there, and it does crop up in the book. But I really wanted to have a book where it wasn't just about that. It wasn't just about, wrestling with your identity. It was also about these other things. It was also about like trying to figure out how to be a good friend, a good boyfriend, how to like just like who you are in all these other ways. And I think that like for me, a big part of resistance is rooted in joy, that a lot of that, like, things are bad and nasty, and it's really totally valid to feel angry and sad and scared. And also like, no, you don't get to take all of my joy. That's like that is a form of resistance, and it is really, really important. and yeah, so I feel like I do like writing happy endings. I sort of think of it as writing happy middles, that like this is the beginning of a new chapter for a character who's going to go on and like find their way in the world. Yeah.
Damn, that mic drop. That honestly hits, you almost made me cry, because it's honestly like, in a way, how I try to live my life. Like, I'm not ignorant to all the darkness that's around us. And I think I definitely come off to people who don't know me well as very happy-go-lucky. But it's like, I want to bring joy in spite of that. It's like such a powerful statement to make. And I think it's like that quote, like, hate can't drive out hate, only love can do that. And I really believe that. And so that just hit. I'm going to stop now or I'll cry. That's beautiful.
It really was. Is this book a standalone?
This book is a standalone. Yeah. There's like a somewhat open ending, I think, because again of my tendency to like writing happy middles. I didn't want to. Yeah, there's a little bit of an open ending. But like most YA contemporaries, it's a standalone book, and I hope that readers will be able to kind of like imagine the fun things that might happen later.
Yes, I love that. Do you imagine like your characters moving on, and have you figured out the lives that they're living right now?
I always think that question is funny, because I feel like the incredibly disappointing answer is no. I mean, yes, to a certain extent, like it, I sort of play with it in the back of my head, but I remember someone asked me like, so do your characters stay together? Like, do they stay together as a couple? And I was sort of like, sure. Like, I mean, it just, yeah, they're together at the end of the book. And I sort of, that's like, I'm kind of happy to leave it there, I guess. Like, I'm kind of happy to just, like, at a certain point, it stops being mine and it starts being the readers. And, like once the book is out in the world, I can have intended to do whatever, but it's sort of what readers take from it. And I'm kind of happy for them to decide where things go on their own after that.
I love that. I can't remember what author I was listening to, but it was on Masterclass. And she was saying that like once the book is out in the world, it's no longer the author's book. Like it's no longer their interpretation of the characters. It belongs to the world, and everybody sees those characters differently, so the author could be like, well, no, I meant for it to come off this way, and everybody's like, that's not right. You're wrong. And I really love that. And I think it's one of those things that maybe because I'm a debut this year as well, and learning to separate, it was our baby. It's still our baby. It's always going to be this thing that belonged to us, but now it also belongs to the world. And they're going to
exciting, and it's really hard. It's like, it's not an easy place to really fully be okay with, because some people are going to hate your baby, and then you're just like, well, that feels terrible.
Yeah, you're like, you're wrong.
Yeah, that just is what it is. No stories for everyone, and that's okay.
That's it right there. Can you go back and take us back to like the beginning of your writing journey? Have you always wanted to be a writer, and like what was your querying submission experience like?
Sure. So I feel like the answer to that is like, no, I haven't always wanted to be a writer in as much as like I did not think of it as an actual job, like as an actual career path that I could really have. I have been writing for a long time. I think I started writing stories probably in like middle school. I wrote my first novel around like 14, maybe. It was terrible. And I think like, so I always wanted to write. I always liked writing. And I think I thought like, oh, it'd be super cool to get something published at some point, but I just had no concept of what it was to be a writer. And at the same time, I was pursuing music, and I started writing music in high school. And so I just had a lot of people telling me, you should do this. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll do that. And it's like, I love that too. It wasn't like I didn't love it. But then I wrote a book that was less bad, and I finished it I think near the end of college, and I was like, oh, I'll try querying this. So I sent it to a couple agents. I had one interested, and he made some really good comments about like ways the book could be better. And sort of in going and looking at those comments, I ended up feeling like, yeah, actually, this book is not ready at all. And I'm not ready at all. And so it was sort of like a thanks, but no thanks. And there were times later where I was like, I can't believe I did that. Like, what was I thinking? And the answer was like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was 22. but I still look back, and in my more sane moments, I'm really glad I did that, because it was, the rise of queer fiction has been so recent and just like really coming into the mainstream. And the rise of trans stories has been even more recent. So at that point, even though it wasn't that long ago, there was no room for trans stories. So I wasn't even writing those stories because it never occurred to me to do that. So I'm really glad that I didn't go out with the story I had then. I'm glad that I took my time. And then more recently, I wrote another book, and it's like, I'm going to try this again. So I queried that, and it was this book that I poured so much heart into, and like it was literally one of the worst times of my life. Like, I lost several relatives and my cat during this time. It was like writing all this grief into a book. And I probably sent it to about 50 agents at a really high request rate, which is sort of meaningless at a certain point because they all said no. Yeah. And I was just like, now what? Like, now what do I do? And at that point, I was really starting to feel like, no, I really want to try to give this a go. I really want to try to get something published. I was getting very burned out with music. Being a full-time composer in the entertainment industry is really tiring. So I remember that I was driving to work super early in the morning because that's what my hours were like. And I was just like so grumpy and just feeling like I always almost get to where I want to be. And then like things never go right. And I started thinking back to all the competitions in high school where I came in second. And this idea came into my head of like a trans boy being a pianist and always coming in second in these ways. And it's sort of the ways in which like feeling in this sort of performance way that you aren't enough, and feeling in this gender way that you aren't enough, and like the ways that those two things kind of went together. And so when I got home, I still have the notebook page that I just sort of like wrote down a page sketch of this story. And a lot of it is exactly the same as it was then. Like I don't normally have things come out that easily. That one kind of came out. So I wrote that over about a year. And then I was like, this time I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing. I'm really going to try to do this right. So I applied to a mentorship through SCBWI and ended up winning that, and then worked with a mentor for, I think, about the next 6 months, and then queried and had the first agent offer in about 2 weeks. Ended up with 3 agent offers. Like at that point, everything started to go weirdly fast. Like the agent stuff went really fast. I signed with my agent. We revised. We went out on sub in January 2021, and we had an offer in about 2 weeks again. So it was like, I was not expecting that. Like, all the stuff can go so slowly. It doesn't mean anything about the quality of the book that you have. It's just dumb luck sometimes. So I think we ended up with 2 offers on the book. And just like it all went really fast. I think we ended up wrapping everything up in about a month. And then I had a migraine for 3 days straight because of the adrenaline crash. Like it was very weird and stressful. Yeah, so that's kind of what it's been like. And so I usually like to say that like there's, from the outside, it all looks sort of very fast and very exciting, and like, oh my God, you got an offer in 2 weeks. And yeah, it was very fast and exciting at that time, but there was also like me writing about 10 books before then, and me like writing a book that I poured everything into and nobody wanting it. There's like there's all this stuff that you so often don't see. But I'm really glad that this is going to be my debut. You know, this is the book that I kind of wrote out of spite. This is the book that I kind of like, you know, fuck this. I'm writing a super trans queer book, and like, let's just see what happens. And that's, you know, so I feel very excited about that also.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's something we talk about on the podcast a lot, this illusion that of overnight success. And without fail, every guest we talk to, even if it was their first book, they were doing like a bunch of other writing in some way, doing like, there is so much grind and hustle generally before it gets to that point, which, yeah, after that, it can look very like boom, 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 stuff's happening. But yeah, it's so relatable in this journey.
Yeah, and I really don't think it means like you can have an amazing book and be on sub for 2 years and then get an offer and it's still an amazing book, you know. But it is really true that like things went fast, partly because I'd put in a lot of work before then, and partly because I just happened to be coming in with something that was commercial and desirable at that time. You know, in a way that like had I come in with that book 3 years earlier or something, it wouldn't have been. So it's just like a lot of it is really luck too.
Yeah. But also like following your intuition. I mean, I really love that like you had the offer with the previous book, but you followed your gut. And it feels like for Melanie and I've had this discussion many times, like we feel this urge and this like need to like hurry and we have to get this. And the fact that you pulled back and were like, this wasn't right and started something new, I mean, it paid off because you followed your instincts. And it's a beautiful thing to not feel this pressure of like, I have no, I'll, you know, settle. I'll settle for what less and just go for it. But you didn't. And now you know, your book, this book is the right debut for you. And it's just this magical thing to do. And it's so hard to not, right? To not be like, yes, first agent, thank you, I'm ready. And I can only imagine how difficult, you know, like that your mind starts going, but you followed your gut and it really paid off. So like, well
and
done.
I have a better team, I think, now. I mean, the agent that I have now is the right agent for me. She is so much, I think, just a better fit than anyone else would have been before then. And I ended up with a really good editor and a really good house, and I feel very lucky about that. But yeah, so I think like I really relate to that feeling like you have to hurry, hurry, hurry. I think there's, you know, especially when you're a very high-powered kid in the ways that I was playing in these very high-powered competitions, there's really a sort of narrative that you start to tell yourself of what happens when I turn 30 and I'm not young and impressive anymore. And like, if I don't do the thing by a certain age, somehow it's going to count for less. And it's just like such bullshit. It's so not true. And, you know, like I couldn't have written this story when I was younger. I couldn't have sold it because publishing wouldn't have been interested. And that's fine. There's no timeline. I mean, I absolutely feel the like, we have to hurry, hurry, hurry. I have to do all the things. I have to do them all right now. But I really think like, no, you don't. Everyone's path is different. You can only write the story that you're writing now. You couldn't have written it 5 years ago. And that's like actually a really special and wonderful thing.
Love it. Love it so much.
Yes. I also, while you were both talking, I just had that. I'm sure you've seen that like meme or whatever. And it's like one of those don't give up memes. And it's like the person's been running for ages and then they stop. But they stopped, and right on the other side of that turn was everything that they'd been running towards. And I feel like that's also like just such a testament to not give up, because you just don't know when it's going to be the timing, when it's going to be the yes. And that's the thing. If you're just consistently kind of like putting into something, then you're kind of ready when the moment comes.
Yeah. And I think you have to allow yourself to take breaks when you need to, because there were definitely times where I was just like, I can't write right now, actually. This is like getting to me and I need to do something else. And that's fine. You can absolutely give up for a little bit if you need to. Like, you can decide this is for you, or you can decide you need a break, or you need to like write something else, or whatever it is. But I do think like, yeah, there was just like, the story that is Always the Almost was in many ways really different from what I had written before, but it was the thing I needed to write. And I had this feeling when I started writing it, like, this is more commercial than what I was doing before. I can see how this is more commercial. And I think like writing it, I learned a lot about how to think about my writing as a commercial product, of like how to be both excited about a story and not precious about the story. So I feel much, and I think that's something that like I am better at than I would have been at 22 also, that like I can, and like working in the entertainment industry also drills this into you, that like, when my editor comes to me and says like, I love this, but we need to change X, Y, and Z things for it to work. Like I have enough of a sort of gut feeling of like when I'm going to fight back and say, no, actually, we really need to keep this thing, and here's why. But a lot of the time, those people are right. And like being able to sort of let go and be like walk that balance of like trying to be a commercial book and also like, yeah, just like not being precious about an idea. I think in some ways like giving up occasionally and just like letting go of an idea taught me to be able to let go of things when you need to, in ways that are actually really useful down the road when you are in publishing and when you are trying to work on a book with someone else.
That's such good advice, honestly, because you're going to get it. You're going to hear it from either a beta reader, your agent, your editor. I mean, your babies are going to have to be chopped. The chapters you love are going to have to go. And if you are like so stubborn about certain things, it's going to be really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think like we all have to learn that struggle. I mean, we've all had beta readers in it when we first started out, I'm sure, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard, but you do. I love that. I like that idea of not being so precious with your work.
Yeah, and like that's the trick of finding the right agent and finding the right editor, right? Is for them to understand what parts of the story absolutely can't change. I'm not going to really be down with anybody coming to me and be like, but what if the characters were not trans? I would be like, get out, absolutely not. Like that, you have to like, where to draw the lines in your own work. And like the trick I think of finding the right editor and agent for you is that they also know. And then they can be like, but these things around the edges need to change. And you can kick and scream a while and then be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. They do.
Yeah, they're always right.
They're always right. It's really true.
What do you think's been the hardest part for you so far through all of this?
I mean, I think like getting all of the rejections after that one book that didn't go anywhere was really hard. The uncertainty aspect is really hard, that you like, there is always something that you're never going to know. Like, great. There's like a way in which I think I just sort of assumed once I got to the next step and then to the next step and then to the next step, like I'll feel great. And then it turns out there's always a next step and you don't feel great, actually. So like I sold a book. Hooray. I sold a 2-book deal. Hooray. I then sat down to write the second book and was like, I don't know what I'm doing. How does a person put words together? And how am I supposed to trust that my lovely editor who bought this book on a 6-sentence pitch is actually like gonna get the book she thinks she's getting? Like there's always something that is just a complete thing you have no control over. Well, okay, the book I did have control over, but like there are a lot of things where you don't have control, and like walking that balance as a creative person where you really care about what you're doing. And I think like as writers, we all want to have control. That's partly why we write stories where we can control what happens to other people. Like that's really hard. It's really hard to just like be okay with that level of uncertainty and kind of let yourself go and sort of go along for the ride and let yourself have these hopes and dreams, and also try to be okay if things don't go as you expected. That's hard.
Yeah.
So hard. So hard. Yes, agreed. What has been the most rewarding part of this experience for you?
I think like honestly, I mean, of course, like getting book deals and knowing that my book is coming out on Tuesday is really rewarding. But like, but I think a lot of it has been about the people um that I've met along the way, to sound really cheesy, but it's true. Like I did not go into publishing expecting to feel like I had this much community, especially as a trans author. I was sort of prepared to fight tooth and nail and constantly be educating people about what I was doing and who I was. And I just feel like I've really lucked out in finding people where I haven't needed to do that work. The few times they've needed to ask questions, they listen and take in the answers. But like I have an agent who's enthusiastic about my ideas and just like will fight tooth and nail for me as a client and for my books. I have like the people that I'm just working with at every stage of publishing, from the editors to like just other people in the house. I know that publishing is far from perfect, but it's really been kind of wonderful to just see like how many people are this passionate about books, how many people are this passionate about like telling these kinds of stories and trying to take care of these kinds of stories and get them into the hands of readers. That's been like both surprising and really rewarding, both like on the publishing side and on the bookseller side. Like I've gotten messages including like from some trans booksellers who are just like telling me about the ways that they felt seen by this book and that they're excited to get it to trans readers. And that's just like, it's a very isolating experience writing a book. It's a very isolating experience being a trans person sometimes. And sort of see the ways that this connects you to community has been really, really rewarding.
Wow, it's beautiful. And I'm sorry if I'm glitching out. My internet is bad where I live, but Melanie and I always talk about the beauty of community, and the bookish and writing community really is so beautiful and accepting and loving. And I mean, for the most part, right? But
there's always that one guy. Otherwise, yeah.
Let me add that part. But I just love it so much. And that's why we wanted to have this podcast, was just to do stuff like that, like this, just to talk with authors and hear their stories and boost them as well as much as we can on this, little podcast. But like, it's, the writing community is so special. And so I'm just so happy for you and excited for this journey that you're already on and you're about to go on on Tuesday.
Yeah, it makes me proud to be part of this community when I hear stories like that. It's just cool.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a very special community to be part of. It does feel like everybody, like, yeah, we can get jealous occasionally, but everyone's writing really different stuff. Everyone's like, just, you can kind of find your people somewhere, anywhere, which is wonderful.
Well, looking back, is there something, like, if you could go back in time to your younger self, is there something you would say to your younger self?
I mean, aside from like, hey, by the way, you're trans and you could write those stories. I think it would kind of honestly go back to what we were saying earlier about like, you have time. You don't need to publish by the time you're 22. I've seen so many young writers be like, oh my God, I'm 20. My friends are already getting agents and I'm 20. Oh my God, I'm so old. And I'm just like, no, you're not. I totally understand the pressure, and it's fine to publish young if that's what you want to do. But like, you have time. You have time to like find the stories that you want. And honestly, I really think like taking the time to feel good about yourself as a writer and solid in your own stories is always the right move. Like, however long that takes. If it happens when you're 20, great. If it happens when you're 30 or 40 or 50, like, doesn't matter. Stories are stories. And that's like, you can take time.
Yeah.
I bet our listeners right now are taking a deep breath and just exhaling. Like,
I hope so.
I did. It's food for the writer's soul. And yeah, I think we all definitely feel that. Hurry, hurry, hurry. And it's good to hustle, but you're so right. You can only hustle if you're resting, and you can only write if you're feeding your soul and like or looking at your soul in some way. So it's
Yeah, and when you're a marginalized author of any kind, there's so much else that gets in the way. Like maybe you're figuring out who you are, or you're, you know, working 3 other jobs because you need to. Like, not everyone is able to become a writer by 25, and that's fine. And it doesn't mean that you're not a writer. It doesn't mean that you're not going to publish later. But like a lot of life can happen in the meantime.
yes.
No kidding. My goodness. So, okay, I see we have like 3 minutes left, but I want to know what's next for you. We have the big book launch on Tuesday.
Yes, the big book launch for All Is the Almost. And then the next thing is I have another book coming out in early 2024 called This Day Changes Everything, which is a rom-com about a trans boy and a queer girl who are from 2 different marching bands and meet up or end up in New York City to march in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and end up on the wrong subway train by accident. And so it takes place in 24 hours. It's about them trying to get back to their bands and falling in love along the way. So I'm super excited for that.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It was logistically terrible to write, but it was, but I'm very excited.
Yes, I'm excited for you. Sorry, go ahead, Mel.
No, I was like, since we have a couple minutes left, what are you most looking forward to now coming to your release?
Honestly, I feel like I'm going to be a little bit relieved when it's over. Like there's so much anticipation, and some of it's exciting and some of it's just like, I just want to know how things are going to go. So like having the book be out there and just like knowing a little bit how that went is like, you know, there are many wonderful things about being a debut, and I've totally heard people say like, you should just enjoy it, just like you'll never get to do this again. And part of me is like, I'm really happy I'm never going to get to do this again, because some of it is stressful AF, and like I like to know how things work. So I'm just going to be happy when I know how things work. But I do have a launch event coming up at the Ripped Bodice on Saturday the 18th, and like that I'm really looking forward to. I think that will be really, really fun. And then otherwise I won't have to be a debut anymore, and that'll be nice in its own way.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like moving on.
Yeah.
But then, to quote yourself from 20 minutes ago, there's going to be something else after that. That's going to
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, but like in a way that's sort of what's exciting to me now, is like I want to be in this for a career. And so like I'm excited to move on to the next thing. I want there to be a next thing. And so I love this book, and I'm so happy and excited for it to be out there. And also I'm excited to get to the next book, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you, Edward. And we hope that there's a next book and a next book and a next book, and it just never ends for you. So all the best of luck. We know you don't need it, but we are so happy for you.
Thank you so much. And thanks so much for having me. This was super fun.
It was great.